Okay, good evening and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun to lean on. Tonight, we're going to be starting, well, it's not exactly tonight, it's 5:10 here. It's not even Shkia yet, so it's not exactly tonight. The days are getting longer. Today, in the afternoon, take it back. We're doing Siman Reish Gimel 203 brachas on payros. Yesterday, we talked about the bracha of Bori Pra'etz. Today, we're talking about Bori Pri Adama. I've noted in the regular share, Bori Pri Adama, it's a fruit. Right, certain fruits you make adam on, even though they're actually fruits. You know, fruits I generally categorize fruits as things which enhance a drink or enhance a dessert. For example, bananas you're going to use in a drink, you're using a dessert, banana split. Strawberries, and you don't usually make strawberries in your chicken. You know what I'm saying? So vegetables are things that you would put, mix with your chicken or eat alongside your main dish or alongside your appetizer. Fruits would be something that would be vegetables. Fruits would be something that you mix in your drinks, like apples. You make apple juice, bananas, things like that. Even though bananas are brachas b'orei pri adam, it's still a fruit. It's called pri. Pri is a fruit. It's still a fruit because fruits are made to enhance desserts and enhance sweet things, enhance drinks. Here I want to talk about halakha daled. Halakha daled says al peiros shemotziin lo yisrach shahakol. You have a tree. Let's say you have a maple tree, an oak tree in your backyard. And one year you notice there's actually growing some sort of apples or something like that. Maybe crab apples or something like that. So it's not really edible. This stuff doesn't taste very good. What bracha do you make you eat it? You chahakol. Now we learned yesterday that something's mazik you, something hurts you. It tastes bad. You don't make a bracha on it because it's painful to eat, painful to your palate. Here we're talking about obviously where these crab apples or whatever grows from the tree tastes okay, to you at least. Most people, they don't like it. To you, it tastes good. So the question is, why do you make a Bori Pri Etz? It grows from the tree. The answer is that most people, when you planted the tree, you didn't expect to have fruit. So a lot of these halachas, like we learned yesterday in Bori Pri Etz, you have fruits that sometimes some fruits are better when they're eaten cooked, and some fruits are meant to be eaten raw. So if you eat it in the way it wasn't meant to be planted, the tree is planted, apple trees are planted, right? Apples, actually, the halacha said that sometimes they're eaten cooked, and sometimes they're eaten baked apples, and sometimes you have raw apples. But certain fruits are only meant to be eaten in one state, like bananas. You don't cook bananas, eat bananas, but bananas are very adama, but it'd be the same thing, right? If you eat bananas that are cooked, right, you make shahakol, because that's not the way, not the inshid halakha. Now, the fact that you get hana from it, you get benefit from it, that's a reason enough to make shahakol. It's berachas hanenin. The most basic bracha is shahakol ne'vedvaro. So if you're getting enjoyment, even though you're personally getting enjoyment, and most people wouldn't get enjoyment, that still merits a shahakol. Now, the discussion is why does it Bori Pri Etz for you? So this is a concept that the Gemara discusses, that if most people enjoy something, most people don't enjoy something, you enjoy it, you're not enjoying it. And if most people do enjoy it, and you say you don't enjoy it, you still make the bracha. Bori Pri Etz, you have to make the right bracha. Because in Israel here they say, when it comes to taste, when it comes to smelling, don't get into arguments with people. Most people understand that to me. Don't get into arguments with people. Because everyone has their own opinion, everyone has their strong own opinion. And just because you like something doesn't mean I like it. But the real explanation, I believe, is nothing to argue about because only one person is right. The other person's a fool, the person who thinks something tastes good and it doesn't. Everyone says it doesn't taste good, he says it tastes good. Or everyone says it doesn't taste good, everyone says it tastes good, he says it doesn't taste good. Right? You go after most people, if you look around in the world, most people eat certain food, and certain foods they stay away from. They view it as disgusting. Like pachach. Go to the rest of the world, besides the from Jewish Hasidic world, no one's going to eat cow's feet. Even rugelach, no one's eating rugelach in the rest of the world. I'm not saying don't make a bari mitzvah, but it requires thought, because it's in a community. Baladei is not just in the world, it's in your community. You live in a community that eat rugelach, so you make the bracha, because people happen to do that, to eat rugelach. However, here, we're talking about fruits that grow on a tree, crab apples, let's say, and no one would eat these things. And even if you tell me that you like it, right, in general in the world, right, there's no community that eats crab apples. So in general in the world, most people don't eat it. So I'd like to advance over here a notion that when it comes to food and drinks, There's objectivity and there's no subjectivity. A lot of things in the world, there's people have different opinions. They could have valid opinions. It's subjective. I think there's always one truth to an argument, but two people can have arguments and they can have legitimate arguments. That's what the whole Gemara is based on. Two Tanaim argue, two Amoraim argue. They both have legitimate arguments. That's what the concept. Hashem regards both opinions as reasonable opinions, right? That's the point of the Gemara, to prove which opinion is the more correct one, to get to the truth, to find out which opinion is valid, right? Opinions don't have to be true. They're not necessarily, both opinions, opposing opinions can't both be true, but they could be opinions as long as they're legitimate and they could be proved in some way. So when it comes to arguments, that's one thing. When it comes to eating, there's only certain flavors and certain foods that objectively people like. Yes, there's always going to be people who will tell you they like certain things, like beef jerky. People are going to tell you they like beef jerky. But the truth of the matter is, you go to most people in the world that can tell you it's disgusting. So there's a concept of objectivity in the Torah and by food specifically. In fact, it's one of the Aseres Dibros. The Gemara says it's a bracha levatol. It's an Doraisa in the Torah because it says lo sisa. I think Toso says it's in Zechus Brachos. What do you mean this is Doraisa? Brachos, the whole concept of brachos is only Derabanan. Brachos is only Derabanan. The only brachas, the bracha that's midoraisa, there's two brachas on Torah midoraisa, brachas on Torah and brachas on Mazon. But brachas on Nenin are midorabanan. So how could you say you violate a bracha levatol? You violate the issue of lo sisa? The answer is it's not for the bracha that you violate lo sisa. It's for eating a food that you don't like. When you eat food, when you make a bracha and eat a food that you don't like, so you're invoking God's name in the wrong way, right? That's really what the seriousness of what the Aseres Dibros, that's really what it's talking about. The third and fourth mitzvahs in the Torah are talking about eating and drinking. Alav, the third Aseres Dibros, don't eat foods you don't like. And four, Zachar Shemash Shabbat Akadsho. On Shabbos, make sure you eat the right food. You drink wine, wine that you enjoy, Bartanura wine. Not that dry, disgusting Cabernet Sauvignon wine that no one likes. I mean, if you want to drink Cabernet Sauvignon, you got to have some good lamb chops. If you want to drink Merlot wine, you got to have a good rib steak, That's when you drink these things, not when you're making kiddush. And you give it to all the kids and you get them drunk. So, at the end of the day, this is the basis for this halacha over. Even though you might think these crab apples taste good, it doesn't make a difference. Most people, when they plant the trees, they didn't have this in mind, and therefore you make a shahakal. Now, shahakal is a subjective bracha that you make anything that for you tastes good, and that's part of the bracha of shahakal, and that's why it's never considered a bracha levatol if you make shahakal anything that you get a little bit of taste at. That's what shahakal is. Shahakal is basically a b'diavad bracha, which is made to encompass anything, all the fallacies and the problems of mankind. With mankind, people don't have refined palates. They like cheap things. People with not refined palates, that's one of the things you have to work on. Just like to work to build a six-pack, if you want to build a six-pack. I don't think you should build a six-pack. I think it looks good. But if you want to build muscle, you have to go through training. And you want to build your palate to taste good food. You have to refine it. You have to go to fancy restaurants. You have to taste different foods, know what you like, not eat foods that you don't like. It's not easy. And that's really the whole idea of Musar. They talk about preachers from foods, abstaining from foods. It doesn't mean to abstain from foods is not a good thing. Abstaining from foods you don't like is a good thing. And that's part of what it is. To abstain from all foods is a bad thing. To go tanesim, we learn in the Maseches Nazir, is a terrible thing to take tanesim upon yourself. But to abstain from that's the whole goal, even though it's not crystallized in the Mushar's farm, which should be crystallized, is the point of refraining from taivas, called taivas, is eating foods you don't like. That's really the problem. Don't eat foods you don't like. Eat foods that people like. People for years, people told me, you go to a restaurant, you order a steak. You're a man, you order a steak. But I didn't like steaks. I'm going to the restaurants, and really I want to order the schnitzel. Because that's what I like. I like the schnitzel. I remember from yeshiva's schnitzel Wednesdays in Mir. Schnitzel is the best. All in yeshiva waited that one day of the week for the schnitzel. So I'm ordering the schnitzel. I feel like a woman ordering the schnitzel. But then I graduated and I realized the problem is not with the steak. The problem is with how I told the chef to cook the steak, right? Because all the waiters, they ask you, how do you want your steak done? I want it well done. No, you don't. Sorry, you don't know. You don't know what to say. I don't know. You go to your restaurant. Most people don't know what to order. They go to a restaurant. So they ask the waiter, what do you recommend? He says, well done. They're all trained to say well done. But if you ask any person who understands food, any person with a refined palate, they'll all say, you do it medium rare. I mean, that's obvious. Obvious. You do it medium rare. You don't cook steak well done. That's like ruining meat. You're ruining great meat. You're turning it into charcoal. You want to eat charcoal? You can take some charcoal from a bag and eat that. You want to go to a fancy restaurant? You get your steak medium rare. Ask all the experts. They'll all tell you the same thing. So that's what you got to do. It's no problem with the steak. It's a problem with you. You have to refine your palate. You have to figure out, wait a second, steak is a manly thing to eat, but only if you eat it in a certain way, only when it's cooked medium rare. So that's what I have to say about food in general. And that's really, two of the series I did was talk about this. You know, obviously food is one of the most important topics in the world because you have to consume food to live. And it's one of the most enjoyable things of life, right? People who have, you know, depression or things like that, they turn to food. Even if you're not depression, everyone enjoys a good sandwich, a good food, a good, you know, a good burger or something like that. You know, people enjoy this stuff. That's the number one enjoyment is really food, because even though people enjoy women more than food, but women are not as easily available. It takes a lot more preparation, a lot more work to get women. And even when you have a wife or a woman that you could be together with, there's a lot of baggage that goes along with women. It's very difficult to be in a relationship with a woman. So that's very complicated. Women are very complicated. But food is very easy. You know, you go to your favorite restaurant, take takeout, you know, you got what you want. You know what you want. Most people know what they want. So you have to eat 3 times a day. So, you know, fresh, you know, as they say, you know, eat what you like. But the point is very difficult to have the refined palate. So this is the essence of halacha. Shakol is b'diavad. Shakol is for those people that don't have a refined palate, right? And you enjoy something. You get a little taste from it. So shahakol niya b'dvaro. Everything. Even the people that don't have refined palates, haven't not yet graduated to have that refined palate, they say shahakol niya b'dvaro. Everything was created through His word. Everything that even you who are not a gourmet taste tester, nonetheless, you enjoyed it. So you make shahakol. You're gonna enjoy. You say shahakol. But in order to make the real specific brachas, like bar beis bar adama, it has to be a food or a fruit, not the insha daiti dahaki, that the planters of the fruit of the tree anticipated this fruit, you know, being used in a certain way or being plucked at a certain time, because that's when it's most tasty, and that's an objective thing. And the more specific brachas have to be with objectivity, done with objectivity, because there is only one set of rules. There's foods that are good, foods that are bad. It's either good. There's no halfway. There's no middle ground over here. We'll talk more about this going forward. Hope you enjoyed tonight's lecture. See you in the next one.